thank you for tuning into the show and welcome to Tea Time. I'm Narendra and we're at Unitech Golf and Country Club in Noida. Now on the show today I've got a man who's got his money where his mouth is. He's a partner at My Money Mantra and discussing the online financial distributors and the trends that we see today in personal finance space is Rahul Soota on the green with me.
On the show this week, we have Rahul Soota, Executive Director, My Money Mantra.
Clearly, people needed to be educated. And I think that's what company like My Money Mantra did. And because we were pioneers, there is no other company that's been around 25 years.
In news, Justin Rose wins Scottish Open and Chikrangappa wins PGTI Kashmir Masters.
Fabulous tea of Rahul.
Thank you.
Which
Thanks.
iron is that?
That's a 7, Chetty.
7. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
Pleasure to have you on the show. So now mymoneymantra.com, a concept which is a little ahead of its time 25 years ago. And today, of course, you're the partner. You took over as being a partner 2 years ago. How has the financial landscape really changed in the country in the past 25 years, ever since this company was started?
Practically, I think everything seems to have changed.
Right.
Just go back 25 years, and the biggest change that we find is in the consumer's mindset. In those days, people weren't that open to borrowing. They would save up all their life and then
make the purchase for an asset.
Absolutely.
Right.
Today, you're a 25-year-old, you've just joined your working life, and you step out, and in 2 years' time, you want to kind of start buying assets for your life.
Obviously, a lot has changed in the past 25 years. Now, this mymoneymantra.com is a financial services distributor, and more so, it helps a consumer aggregate online and figure out which is the best product suited for him. 25 years ago, don't you think this idea was a little ahead of its time? Because obviously, people wanted to go through that one advisor which physically they could obviously talk to and take advice from.
25 years ago, when we used to go out and meet clients, we had to train them and teach them what an EMI was,
right,
what reducing balance was.
Right.
People had no idea. They had never borrowed in their lives. I think Maruti 800 was the first flush of assets for which loans were being made available on a retail basis.
Absolutely.
So you would go and, buy a 50,000 rupee Maruti, come back and try and take a loan of 40,000 rupees.
Right.
That is the retail loan landscape in the country in those days.
Correct.
Clearly, people needed to be educated. And I think that's what company like My Money Mantra did. And because we were pioneers, there is no other company that's been around 25 years.
Right.
Very few banks, actually, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank and Axis did not exist in those days.
Absolutely. Now, cashing on the urban landscape today of the internet and the 3G, and cashing on the fact that people are getting more hooked on to e-commerce, buying products online, travel aggregator sites flourishing. When did you decide that this would be the future? At what point did it occur to mymoneymantra.com that this would be the future and this is what we can cash in on?
Again, it goes back to consumer behavior.
Right.
That's the trend that we need to follow. I think we have seen more and more consumers getting online over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And like you mentioned, people have hooked on to shopping and buying
products online.
TV tickets and what have you online. Financial services is relatively nascent. What was available earlier was from the banks. In terms of service, you were already a banking customer, you would go online, do some of your banking. But in terms of going and searching for what's a good product for yourself, I think a couple of years ago, that's when we introduced a website. And now we are amongst the very few players in this industry who provide you information online and then provide you fulfillment on the ground.
Right.
Most other people are just giving you information. After that, they give the lead to a certain bank and that one bank will come to you. Unlike what we do, we provide you the information, you come to us, and then we bring the full menu of products from 30 banks to you. So it's quite different from what's happening in the rest of the industry, and I think it seems to be working for us.
People, like you mentioned, are not comfortable buying financial products online, but despite that, you have seen a growth rate of 35% per annum at mymoneymantra.com.
Yeah.
How is that possible if people are not comfortable? And the second thing is, what are the kind of conversion rates that we're seeing from non-buyers to buyers online?
Right. I'll take the second question first.
All right.
We see about 8 to 10% of our sales volume now coming from online clients.
Right.
Yeah, so there's still a whole host of clients who have not moved online, or we have various ways of reaching out to other customers. So maybe this will grow over a period of time, but right now it's a small proportion.
Sure.
The other point that you raised, I think the one key driver has been change in regulation. Banks are being forced to reach out and deal with very reputed parties. Otherwise, the distribution space is a very mom and pop show.
Right.
Small people, 3, 4, 5 employees working out of a second basement. That's not something that most of the good banks and NBFCs are comfortable with anymore.
Right.
So they are wanting to consolidate business with a few large parties who bring to the table knowledge and lots of integrity. At the end of the day, we're talking about crores and crores of rupees.
Right.
Right. So integrity is critical. Also
Credibility is critical.
Absolutely. And that can only come with time. You need 25 years for that thing to mature and to prove to the industry that what you've been doing is right.
Right.
Also, with regulation like TRAI, it's not possible for small shops to be able to meet those requirements. And like we just discussed, technology is important, requires investment. So we are finding that there are going to be a few large players, and hopefully we'll be amongst one of them, which will prosper and grow. And we've been benefiting from this trend.
All right. Time now for me to tee off and we continue our conversation.
Please.
Speaking about the Internet of Things and speaking about regulations is Rahul Soota, the partner in mymoneymantra.com. On the other side of this break, we will touch upon the regulation that is tightened in this country as far as the space is concerned. You take a break. We will see you on the other side in a short while. Thank you for staying with us on TeeTime and welcome back. And where we really left off was the regulatory environment in this country. Now, before I touch upon how the regulation has changed in this country, should we go over a little bit as to how separate products today need more sophisticated buyers for which separate regulation needs to set in? I mean, most of the products today are conducive to mass investors.
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about that?
I think the arena is changing, but not fast enough. Right? Currently, the products that we have are pretty cookie cutter.
Right.
So in terms of regulation, I think between SEBI, IRD and RBI,
and the PFRD.
Yeah, the space is adequately covered.
Right.
So I don't think we need more regulation. I think they have enough teeth in the current regulation to take care of the evolving environment. In the last few months, we have seen the RBI come out with regulation on prepayment penalty. 2 years ago, they changed penalties, or they did away with all prepayment penalty on home loans.
Right.
Recently, they brought out a regulation and extended that to term loans taken on a variable rate of interest by individuals. So that has again gone to benefit consumers who've got loans of that nature. Then we saw one regulation recently where they said that that banks are not allowed to give down payment disbursals to developers when you buy a property.
Right.
So again, it's a customer-friendly regulation. You don't want to buy a property that is going to get delivered 3 years hence and pay everything to the developer upfront.
Absolutely.
So that's another, excellent regulation from the RBI recently.
And what are your hopes on the BJP government right now?
I guess just like everybody else in the country, we're surely
You're
counting
bullish?
on change.
Right.
And the first 30 days have been positive.
I mean, the Prime Minister is acting as the CEO of this nation, and it's phenomenal.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
Sometimes it, coming from a corporate background, one just believes that it's like he's running a company.
Exactly.
This is exactly what a CEO would do if you were to take over a new company or you moved into your, new job. That's what you would like to do. You would like to enthuse your team. You would like to bring energy to the table, and you would like to be visible. You would like for people to know that you mean business, and I think all of that we are seeing.
Well, on that happy note, we continue our game. That's your ball, right?
Yep, it is.
And mine is gone all the way there. All right, so with financial institutions becoming more accessible to the end users, do you think a role of a financial distributor like yours somewhere is getting diminished at present?
Actually, with more options coming up available for customers, it's only getting more confusing for them. They do need people who can advise them.
Right.
We bring to the menu 30 banks.
Right.
And from these banks, we've got multiple products.
Sure.
It's impossible for a client to understand each of those.
Right.
So, and the service that we provide is free.
Right.
So it makes imminent sense for a customer to come to a distributor like us who brings several banks and several products to them and is able to do not only the documentation but also post-documentation, post-disbursal formalities. We help them along the way, till they're fully satisfied.
And your business model is designed in a way where you are not taking the commission off the consumer, but
Absolutely.
from the banks that
Absolutely.
you're dealing with,
Absolutely.
really. So that also somewhere helps the consumers at the end of the day,
Quite
because
surely.
they're saving up quite a lot.
Surely. Also, it helps the banks because
Absolutely.
there are several times and several products where you need to create consumer demand.
Right.
You don't wake up in the morning and suddenly say, I want to buy insurance.
Right.
They keep saying that insurance needs to be sold, it's not purchased.
Purchased, right.
Likewise, we reach out to clients and we offer credit cards, and suddenly we find that we've ignited interest.
Right.
So it brings more consumers into the fray and customers for banks.
Interesting. Come, we'll finish your game.
Yep.
So let's talk about trends now.
Yep.
In terms of personal finance, at mymoneymantra.com, what are the kind of trends you are witnessing currently as far as the credit cards are concerned, personal loans,
Right.
home loans,
Absolutely.
business loans?
See, credit cards, there's a lot of demand. Unfortunately, the banks are still skeptical. They've burned
Right.
their fingers a couple of times.
Right.
So they prefer to deal with salaried customers. They prefer to deal with clients who've got bank accounts with them.
Right.
So after all these years of credit cards in this country, we have only 2 crore credit card users.
Right.
Just to give a sense, SBI has got 40 crore banking accounts.
Correct.
Yeah. In the personal loan space, we are seeing a lot of demand. People are traveling. They're sending children for higher education. They're also buying white goods. For that, they need money. And they're willing to borrow because they believe they have a secure future and they'll be able to repay what they're taking today. So it helps them build assets and have a good time in general. So that space is growing nicely. Home loans, that's derived demand. You need homes to sell for people to come and borrow. I think over the last year or so, home sales have been subdued. So we're not seeing a while the demand itself in aggregate is quite large, we're not seeing a large pickup in that demand. The most interesting space I'm finding is in business loans,
Right.
whether unsecured or secured against property. It's almost as if 2013 somebody put off a button, and from January 2014,
Someone switch it on again.
somebody's just switched it on, and people are coming to us in droves, asking for money so that they can go and expand their business. So I think it augurs excellently for the country, because every month since January has been better than the previous month. And from requirements of 5 lakhs all the way up to 30 crores, we are finding more and more small distributors, shopkeepers, retailers, SME, manufacturing units wanting to raise funds. So that only tells me they're looking to invest in their businesses because they're expecting growth in the coming months.
All right, on that note, it's a good time now for us to take a break on Tea Time. We stay in conversation with Rahul Soota on the other side as well. Take a break, we'll be back. Hi, welcome back to Tea Time. We're still in conversation with Rahul Soota, the partner at My Money Mantra. Now, where we really left off was talking about personal finance. We discussed the past, we discussed the trends in personal finance across credit cards and home loans and business loans as well. Now, let's get your outlook for the next 5 years going forward in the personal finance space at the back of the fact that India's middle income is growing. More and more people are getting added to the pyramid as far as
Absolutely.
the income. More consumers are getting added to it. I mean, apart from the fact India enjoys a large demographic dividend as well. At the back of all this, what does your outlook remain for the next 5 years?
I think one word explained. Exciting.
Really?
Absolutely. I think we're going to see a solid growth rate coming back. While the banks have been growing at about 15%,
Right.
clearly there's scope for them to start hitting 20. Right. Now, just talking about each one of them, if you were to look at credit cards, like I told you earlier, there is demand.
Right.
And there are customers who want it, and I'm sure that the banks are going to open up and try and bring in more of these clients.
Right.
The home loan space. We are today, compared to 25 years ago, the balance sheet on the home loan space has grown 250 times.
Right.
The aggregate volume is about 8.7 lakh crores. What kind of growth rate can we see? Nothing less than 20% year on year for the next 5 years.
Sure.
Because of the sheer demand for homes.
Correct.
What we need is for developers to put out more homes in the 25 to 75 lakh category.
Right.
Because that's where the large demand is going to come in from.
And you're only talking about the urban metropolitans. Are you even touching upon the tier 2 cities and the rural India
absolutely.
across the board?
The top 50 cities in the country, you know,
Right.
you find homes in this
Category.
category.
So what is your stance remain on the economy of India going forward now, given the fact that obviously the BJP government has taken off anyway on a bit of a burdenous note, if I may be allowed to call it so, plus you see a delayed monsoon and plus you see this crisis. What happens next, really?
See, this is part and parcel of the game. You will find challenges every day. It's how you deal with them. And this is no different from how you would deal with them in your personal life
Right.
or at work.
Right.
So you just need a team that's engaged, some people out there who are willing to take decisions
Right.
and think a bit about the long term.
Right.
And I think what we have seen, the BJP promises in the last 30 days, I would imagine we have something
brighter
really
future.
positive to look forward to.
Interesting. Now, just let's shift focus a little bit to golf now. You seem to be a very calm, collected human being. Would you attribute these qualities of yours to being a golfer? Has the game taught you a lot?
Actually, I took to golf a few years ago.
Right.
But once a colleague of mine was making a speech, and I think it was a farewell speech. I was moving jobs within the same company, and he said that Rahul is amongst the most calm and composed people I've ever worked with. There could be a fire on the floor, and you walk into his office and say that, "Hey, Rahul, there's a fire," and you won't find a hair out of place. Actually, when there are tough times, I think I turn cool as cucumber.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I guess it's a gift. I don't like to stress out. There's just no need. Life is short. You need to enjoy it.
Right.
And out on a lovely day playing golf with you, well, I guess that's my idea of life.
I think you stand testimony to that poem that Rudyard Kipling has written. It's called If, where
Absolutely.
he talks about you can't get very excited about your triumphs, or you can't get very depressed about your lows. You do maintain that kind of equilibrium in your life.
I do try to. It's yin and yang at home, so my
Yeah.
wife is quite different from me.
Okay.
Somebody needs to maintain the equilibrium.
So you mentioned yin yang now.
Yeah.
You said your wife is very different than yours. Does she also end up playing golf? I'm assuming not.
No, very, very different. I'm on the finance side. She's been on the creative side all her
Right.
life. Today, she's into her third profession after journalism and
Right.
writing for TV. Then she was with JWT. Now she's an English stand-up comedian.
Oh,
and of
fantastic.
repute, actually, if I may say so myself. So, like I said, very different personalities, but I guess that's what has kept us together for 18 years.
So what next for you now going forward in your career? What next after My Money Mantra? I mean, you're a partner here, and what is it that you envision for yourself?
After 20 years of corporate life in an MNC bank, I decided for a switch.
Right.
This is the future.
Right.
Yeah, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
I decided I wanted to participate in the India growth story.
Right.
And this is a space I'm comfortable in. I understand the financial services space. And like I mentioned, I think there's immense growth coming our way. We just need to ensure we maintain high quality of professionalism in our work environment.
Right.
We need to retain and attract talent to our company, and the rest will just follow
On. And on a winding note, tell me, which is that one golfer that you really look up to in terms of his character, in terms of his mindset, in terms of the way in which he maintains his cool while playing his games as well. Not necessarily the game itself,
Yeah.
but in terms of these virtues.
Actually, you have lots of professional golfers, and
Right.
I could say Tiger Woods, but frankly, what I personally like is a person who's got a full day's life out there doing something and then is able to excel at something else. So I've got several friends
Right.
and who, are great at their golf game,
Sure.
but also wonderful human beings and excellent in whatever they do in their professional lives. I find those stories to be something that I connect with.
More
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
golfers, of
Yeah.
course. But if there was this one golfer you are fond of for their game, that would be?
I would have to pick Jeev Milkha Singh. Because firstly he's an Indian, and I
Right.
think he's done us proud.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, thank you so much. Indeed a pleasure to have you on the show.
It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
being here, and thanks for a wonderful game.
That's a wrap from me, Chaiti Narula, and from Rahul Soota, a man who's got money, literally where his mouth is. On that note, it's a wrap on this episode of Tea Time. I will see you next week. Enjoy the flight of a good drive until then. Take care.